You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast. As always, a proud member of the CLNS group of podcasts. Make sure you download and subscribe to all of the shows on the CLNS network. But tonight, it's the Patriot Nation Network, and it is our post-game show. It is a solo show with you guy, Pat Lane here. Matt St. Jean not in the building, just, not feeling good today, under the weather. And so here I am doing it all by my lonesome. Patriots get a big win against the Browns. It was not pretty in the first half, I would say. The Patriots really struggled, especially early on. They really struggled. I thought that it was a situation where the Patriots just came out slow. They came out flat. Drake May was rough in the first half. Really did not play well at all in the first half. And unfortunately, it was a situation where he threw a bad interception and he just looked pretty bad. As a team and what they've seen, or what we've seen, at least, I think, from them is, especially defensively, that first drive defensively, they're just awful, that first drive defensively. But they snapped out of it, luckily. And, we were able to see the Patriots come back and do what they needed to do. I think getting that stop at the end of the first half and driving down and kicking that field goal to take the lead into halftime was huge. And then, of course, in the third quarter, 3 drives, 3 touchdowns, just incredible. And so that's one of those things for me that, the Patriots, you look at what they've been able to do and the fact that they're still first place in the AFC East and, second place in the AFC right now. They look pretty darn good, man. And, I think that, I can't say I saw this coming at the start of the season. I'll tell you. But I don't know what it is. But hey, I will take it. And hello, everyone. Nelson checking in, and Jack and B from Ohio. Appreciate you guys being here. And Jack says, dude, what's with the first drive defense? I don't know. A feeling out process, maybe. Maybe it's we want to see kind of what you have and what you're bringing to the table. And, and then once we see that, then we can adjust to it on the fly and make some plays based off of that. But, the touchdown, the Harold Fannin touchdown was just like, Harold Fannin's lined up in the backfield as a fullback. I'm in the end zone, the opposite end zone, screaming, 44 is in the backfield. It's going to him. The whole defense should have known that too. And no one covered him out of the backfield. He's wide open for a touchdown. And, apparently there may have been some, communication between, whoever it was, a few guys on the defense, and got lost in the shuffle and no one covered him. And it's just like he walks in for a touchdown. And that can't happen. And then it didn't happen the rest of the game. But, there was a play too where Marcus ends up, I don't think he got credit with the pass breakup, but ends up getting there on a pass that was thrown down the sideline. And it's like, if they have a real NFL quarterback, that could have been a touchdown pass. But they don't. And so it worked out for the Patriots. But, look, Myles Garrett, you got to tip your cap a little bit to Myles Garrett, right? This is, I think offensively, one of the things that we looked at was the Browns were able to get pressure on the Patriots pretty consistently. Not a great day for Mo Campbell. Gave up. I think, here's the thing. And I think one thing that we have to appreciate is that first of all, it wasn't just Will Campbell, number one. But number two, so Will Campbell, 5 sacks. Myles Garrett had 5 sacks and 8 pressures. Okay. He had 5 pressures and 3 sacks on Will Campbell. That was 13 of Will Campbell's reps. 8 pressures on 13 reps is not, it's not good. Not good. Okay. Real bad. Okay. And Nikhil's saying he has lunch eaten. He did. He did. Okay. 5 sacks on 13, 5 sacks. Sorry, 5 sacks, 5 pressures and 3 sacks on 13 reps is as bad as it's going to get. However, Will Campbell had 20 other reps against everyone else on that defense and gave up exactly 0 pressures in those 20 reps. So it was bad against Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's arguably the best pass rusher of this generation. He's an absolute freak athlete. He's an incredible player. And unfortunately that's going to happen sometimes. I think that Campbell overall wasn't terrible. Against Myles Garrett was awful. So, it's one of those things that you learn from it and hopefully you get better. He had a really bad rep where he was just like kind of flat-footed against him and he just went right by him. So apparently Nikhil 72 grade from PFF. No, again, it's PFF. Like we take it with a grain of salt, but I think what that shows you is how good he was on those other reps when it wasn't Myles Garrett, when he's going against a normal pass rusher and not a superhero, right? So I think that that's one of those things for me that I think, and Nelson even says it too. Like it's a good lesson for Campbell, right? Like Myles Garrett's a guy that you just like. It just goodness sake, like what are you gonna do? The guy's a monster, and that is what it is, So. But I think that it was a good learning experience for him. I mean, look, the Cleveland Browns, okay? The Cleveland Browns had 6 sacks. They picked off May once. They forced 2 fumbles, 1 strip sack on May, and they made Travion fumble at the goal line. And the Patriots won 32-13, right? So that's one of those things where it's like, it's not good, right? Those things we can clean up, but they absolutely destroyed them on the field. And I think that the Patriots survived the first half. They had a really bad first half. And again, the offensive line had a tough time. The passing attack had a tough time. Drake May's interception was his worst throw of the season. I just have absolutely no idea what he was looking at. Just have no idea what he's looking at. But I think he even said, I was trying to throw to the guy and I forgot the guy in front of me could jump. It was just great. But Carson Swetzer, by the way, who I think was a shoo-in for Defensive Rookie of the Year and apparently left the stadium in a walking boot, which stinks for Cleveland. Cleveland stinks anyways. But they got a really good young linebacker in Schlesinger, who I loved coming out of UCLA. And it looks like, unfortunately, that he's going to miss some time for them. But he's a great player. And so he played well today. And, of course, had that interception. And look, I think when you look back and you watch the play, you see kind of what's happening out there. I thought they came out very vanilla offensively. I thought they were just running the regular offense. And you're talking about the best defense in the league. You can't just run it up the middle against them, right? They came out 3rd and 1, and I don't know if it was I'm not sure. I don't know if it was in the first quarter. I'm not sure where it was, to be honest with you. But they had 3rd and 1, and they ran up the middle out of a shotgun. And it's just like that. It drives me crazy when they do stuff like that. And it's, they didn't do a lot of that in the second half. A lot of credit to McDaniels here. And I think that, TD says it here too, like Josh McDaniels figured it out, right? Figured it out and got Drake May moved out of the pocket and ran a few trick plays. By the way, that trick play, that throw back to May where he hit Mac Hollins, he had like 0.3 seconds to throw once he caught it. He caught that ball and threw it to Mac Hollins as that, I think, corner or safety was bearing down on him and made a good throw. And, it was one of those things where, for me at least, I was extremely impressed with May on that play. And May in the second half, I mean, he goes 8 for 8 in the second half. leads them on three straight scoring drives, and of course was helped out by 2 interceptions. But nevertheless, right, one of them obviously sets them up in great field position. One of them was deep down the field, an outrageous interception by Jalen Hawkins. I'm sorry, and but it's one of those things where you were able to establish the running game. They went outside, and then when you go from there, and I thought that the toss, and it said B from Ohio said it too. The Travion toss is legit. Like, the Henderson toss is solid. You get those guys out in space. You get some lead blockers in front of him. He's got the speed to make some guys miss just based on the angles. He's not a very shifty runner, but if you can get him out in space, he has a decent cutback, and he's got some blockers in front of him. I thought I was impressed with that. But Drake's poise, to me, the big story for me should be the poise of Drake May. He was awful in the first half. He was bad in the first half. Things weren't going his way, right? It would have been very easy for the Patriots to just kind of say, like, all right, we're going to do. No, Drake May, they stuck with it. He wasn't pressing. He wasn't upset. He wasn't trying to do too much. He just let the game come to him. And I thought that, that's when I was impressed with Drake May the most. He was under fire. He had guys all over him, and it just didn't matter. It just didn't make a difference. And he didn't, obviously he had one really, really bad play, obviously, right, with the interception. And, and he wasn't perfect, but he didn't have a ton of stupid plays. And so I was impressed from what I saw by him. Certainly in that second half. And again, 3 for 3 in the second half, right? You go down in the third quarter, I should say. You go down and you score 3 touchdowns on 3 straight drives in the third quarter, and that's then the game's over. Right? It's 30-6, and see you later, it's over. And so, offensively, I was really happy with that. I thought Mac Hollins had a great game, right? 7 receptions for 89 yards. He really kind of showed what he does here. It's so funny because people were in my mentions complaining about Mac Hollins this morning when I was talking about, people were upset about Mac Hollins on the team, and it's like, he's looked good. And they're like, oh, he stinks, and look at his yards per route run and all this garbage. And it's like, well, yeah, he goes out and has a good game. And again, he's not catching 7 balls for 89 yards every play, or every game, I should say. But he's a useful player when he's out there, and I thought he did a really nice job today. So, and then Diggs, of course. Well, Kayshon Boutte continues to be their deep threat. It was a beautiful, just a perfectly thrown ball to Boutte for a touchdown in the third quarter. He had him earlier and threw it out of bounds in the first half, and it didn't look right. Right, Mac was off, and the offense was off, and it wasn't. Look at Mac Hollins still. Boutte, I think, didn't run it quite as deep, quite as far to the sideline as you wanted him to. Drake didn't throw a perfect ball, and so I didn't love that. But again, for me, it's one of those things where I looked at it and said, like, all right, we'll get this thing going. And then you see the pass in the second half, and you're like, okay, now we get it. So that's really what you like to see from him. And then, of course, Stephon Diggs scoring a touchdown. His first touchdown in over a calendar year. His last touchdown, of course, came against the Patriots at Gillette Stadium. It's pretty cool for him to score a touchdown after not scoring a touchdown for a whole year. And you could see how excited the whole team was for him. Everyone was pumped for him. Everyone was happy for him. That was really cool. And I think it was Cadlick said that's an Amendola type play. That's the Danny Amendola 2-point conversion play against, and not quite the same thing, but it's very similar to the Amendola 2-point conversion play in the Atlanta Super Bowl. But it was great to see. And you continue to see how they're building things and what the culture is going to look like. And I think that, they just continue to support each other. They continue to work for each other. And I've been really happy to see that. And I thought offensively, again, it wasn't working great. And they just stuck with it. And they kept going. And they kept doing it. And again, McDaniel said, okay, let's roll May out a little bit. Let's run some different plays. Let's run some toss plays. Let's see what works. Let's not run up the middle anymore, right? Because it wasn't working. And so, I really think that you saw some of that. And again, this team could have turtled. This team could have said, man, shoot, they punched us in the mouth and we weren't ready for the game. And, and all right, we'll go back and, we'll get them next time. And it's like, no, that wasn't the case. They fought, they continued to fight with the Browns and they went from there. Now, if the Browns had an NFL caliber starting quarterback, then maybe that would have been different, but they don't. So that helped, of course. But, I thought the defense played exceptionally well after that first drive. And the Patriots, I thought, did a really nice job. So, and look, it's one of those things. By the way, we'll talk about this later on in the week too, because I believe the trade deadline is like the 4th. I think it's November 4th. It's not this upcoming week, but the week after. I don't know. TD's talking about Chris Olave. There's a lot of guys that I like. I just think the Patriots receiving core is fine right now. I don't think they need to give up things to get it. And I just don't. That doesn't make sense to me. TD, I don't think it's the second, because the second's Sunday. So I think it's a few days after week 8. But I might be wrong about that. But I think it's like Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. But either way, but I think that I think for me at least, I'm looking for an edge rusher, and we'll kind of talk about the defense. I'm going to talk about the defense side of the football in a little while, but offensively, I like their receiving core. And someone mentioned, I think it was, who was it? Someone mentioned, Jack mentioned, why don't they use Pop Douglas? They do. They did use Pop Douglas. I mean, they had that 144-yard catch. We kind of stumbled and fell down. I know what he was trying to do. He saw the guy coming out of the corner of his eye and thought if I cut it inside, I'll be able to shake this guy. And someone else coming and he tried to cut back and fell down. But either way, it's one of those things for me where I look at it and say, like, he's small. Drake kind of likes those bigger body receivers, those receivers that have, a little bit more of a catch radius. But he still contributes from time to time. He's still on the field and making some plays here and there. And so, I'm generally happy with what I've gotten or what the Patriots are getting right now from the receiving core. I don't necessarily want another receiver. Now, listen, if someone's going to go crazy and say, well, we're not going to sign Chris Olave, and so we're going to give him to you for a 3rd-round pick or something like that. Well, sure, you're going to give him to me. Absolutely. I'm down with that. I just don't think that's going to happen. And so, to me, I just think, all right, if you do that, that's fine. If they just want to move on from Keon White, which kind of seems like that's going to be the case. He was a healthy scratch today. You want to move on from Keon White and try to pick up another edge defender? Sure, I'm okay with that. They need a little bit more pop off the edge, and they just don't. They have some guys. Chasen's fine, and Landry's fine, but they don't really have like a guy off the edge. I don't know if you can get that at the deadline, but if you can add a guy like, Arden Key or, somebody like that, one of the Dolphins guys, whether that's, Chop Robinson or whether that's Jalen Phillips or someone like that, if they're not gonna sign them and they just say we're gonna give them up, maybe. But I don't see them trading in the division. They could. I just don't see them trading in the division. And so I wouldn't necessarily hold my breath for either of those guys, but you never know. So anyways, but that's the trade deadline. We'll talk about that. We'll probably talk about that a little bit more on Thursday's show. But anyways, I think that's it offensively. I don't think I really have anything else offensively. Again, for me at least, when you look at what the Patriots are bringing offensively, I just think I'm happy with where they're at right now. I think Drake May, for me, is playing like a top 2 or 3 quarterback in the NFL right now. He's playing incredible right now. And I think that, I'm really happy with the way he's playing right now. If he plays like this, forget about it. You could beat anyone. And listen, you got 6 wins at this point. You got Miami and the Jets twice. You got to assume that's 3 more wins. So there's 9. Okay. If the Patriots have 9 wins, right? Then you say, okay, Patriots have 9 wins. Now, where do the other wins come from? Okay. The Giants. So the other 3. So you got the 3 hard games, which is the Bucs, the Bills, and the Ravens. Okay, and the Ravens, I know the Ravens are 2-6, but they don't have Lamar. They're going to have Lamar. So if they win one of those games, let's just say they win one of those games, now you're up to 10. Then your other 2 games are against the Falcons next week and the Giants. If you win both of those games against the Falcons and the Giants, now you get 12 wins, right? If that's the case, you probably win the AFC East. Maybe you don't, but you probably win the AFC East. Certainly if that one wins against Buffalo, then obviously you win the AFC East. But even if it isn't, 12 wins should be enough for you to win the AFC East, I think, just where the Bills have sputtered a little bit. If you win the AFC East, you get a home playoff game. That's incredible, right? And if you get a home playoff game, now here's the thing. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to tell you. I don't care whether they win a playoff game. I don't care whether they go to Arrowhead and lose by 30, which, by the way, I don't think they would. But I don't care if they go to Arrowhead and get smoked. This team is in the first year of a rebuild, and they're playing exceptionally well. Drake May is not doing this as a rookie. He's doing this as a second-year quarterback when teams have film on him. Right, he's going out there and playing this way, and so I think I thought he was going to take a step back this year, maybe, and we'd see some growth, and I maybe not a step back, but I thought, we'll continue to see the growth process. The growth process has been incredible for him so far, and I think that I'm so happy with where they are as far as their development and where they're going. Now, again, does that mean that they're going to win the division and compete for a Super Bowl? I don't think so. But who knows? Look what happened in Washington last year, right? Detroit, they go into Detroit and beat Detroit in the playoffs, right? And it could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen. And I just think, for me, the fact that they're giving themselves this opportunity, the fact that they've almost definitely turn themselves into a playoff team year 1 of this rebuild. I mean, I just think everyone's got to be looking at this saying, what a huge, massive success it's been so far for the Patriots. And again, can it continue? We don't know. I hope, but we don't know. So we'll see. All right, anyways, let's take a quick ad break, and then we'll talk about the defense, and then I'll get you guys out of here. So this ad break, of course, for Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. It's the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there on the market. Okay. It's also the only app that offers stacks, which means you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Again, you want to pick more on Drake May's passing yards and rushing yards and touchdowns? You can do that. That would have been very beneficial for you to do that today. You can also follow Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. My picks this week, man, I nailed it. I nailed the fact that Jerry Jeudy's going to have a bad game. Kayshon Boudreaux's numbers were crazy low from Prize Picks. And then what I should have done was taken Saquon going against his old team, and I took Christian McCaffrey instead, and San Fran laid an egg. And so, what are you going to do? Just the way it is sometimes. I was 2 for 2 last week and 0 for 1 this week, but that's okay. What you're going to do, though, download the app Prize Picks, put in the promo code CLNS. When you do that, you're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks, and you're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Okay. So, also TD asks, have the Pats ever swept the division? Yeah, I would say so. A few times. Certainly in 2007 when they went undefeated, but definitely a few times. Defensively, okay? Defensively for the Patriots. That first drive was awful, pitiful. That's what they do. I don't get it, but that's what they do every week. They're just really bad defensively in the first drive, and they just figure it out the rest of the way. And they just completely stuff them. And you look at what the Patriots were able to do defensively. And I'll just give you some numbers just so we have it. Okay? 70-yard touchdown drive to start the game for the Browns. Okay, Patriots got the ball, went down to kick a field goal, and the Browns go on a 70-yard drive, score a touchdown. The Browns, their next 7 drives, 7, they had 58 total yards. Total yards on the next 7 drives. And by that time, it was 30-7 and the game was over, right? And they had a few garbage time drives or whatever. That doesn't matter. The point is that for the next 7 drives, they did absolutely nothing. Now, does Dillon Gabriel help that? Yeah, because Dillon Gabriel's terrible. He's awful. He's pitiful. I understand why the Browns traded Joe Flacco. I get it. You're a young team. You stink. Your wide receiving core stinks. Joe Flacco's super old and isn't going to do anything for you. I get it. I understand it, right? I actually understand why they did that. It helps Joe Flacco out because he gets to go play in Cincinnati, even though they flip and lost because my knockout pool knocked me out of my knockout pool because I picked Cincinnati this week. But nevertheless, I get why you trade Joe Flacco. But Dillon Gabriel is just pitiful. I just don't see how you can keep putting him out there. I don't see it. And so is Shedeur Sanders the answer? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. He may not be. Give me anyone. Give me anyone other than Dillon Gabriel. It is painful to watch him play quarterback. It's the first time I've really watched him play a full game, and it was awful. He was worse than I thought. That intentional grounding in the end zone and the being a safety is one of the worst plays I've ever seen. It just like he wasn't under any serious pressure, and he just throws it into the ground at the line of scrimmage in the flat. And there's no one within 15 yards. It was just like, what are you doing? I have absolutely no idea what was going to happen. And by the way, I think, and multiple people pointed this out, so it's not an original thought, nevertheless. But I still think it makes sense. How can you choose to onside kick on a free kick like that? It's a free kick. You're gonna just onside kick it on a free kick? I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like being able to do that. You made a dumb play. You took a safety. The other team gets the ball back. It's not a kickoff. Like I don't know. Fine, whatever. But I just think I think that shouldn't be allowed. Also, Dillon Gabriel worse than Bailey Zappi? Potentially. Probably. Most likely. I wanted so badly. All I wanted was Bailey Zappi to come in today. It's all I wanted was Bailey Zappi to come in today. Because Bailey Zappi is garbage. And I was right all along about Mac Jones being better than Bailey Zappi. I was right that the Patriots should have stuck with Mac Jones over Bailey Zappi. Listen, Mac Jones is not the guy. But Bailey Zappi stinks. And I think, that's been proven kind of over and over again. Mac Jones is not great. I'm not over here sitting here telling you that Mac Jones is great. I will say that before this week, who had the most passing yards per game in the NFL as a quarterback? That's right, Mr. Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones, I believe, I think he had a rough game today. I actually don't even know. They only scored 15 points against a bad Houston team. 19 for 32, 193 yards. Not terrible, but it's. I wanted that to happen so bad. I wanted Bailey Zappi in there just just to really kind of look at it and say, "Oh my God, like this is great." But anyways, that was what I was hoping for. Defensively for the Patriots, a few people mentioned on here that interception by Jalen Hawkins was absolutely insane. It was insane. Not just the catch. The catch, it was unbelievable as it was, right? That one-handed twisting, turning, one-handed catch was unbelievable. But the other part of it was the fact that he made a crazy adjustment to the ball while it was in the air and really turned it into the receiver and made a catch like that. If that was a receiver making a catch like that, that would be on every highlight reel. But because it was a D-back, it's not on every highlight reel because it's an interception. And so, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to see that. Jalen Hawkins getting in the action after he missed last week. And then, the Robert Spillane interception was just hilarious. Like, just hilarious. And Joker was open. And he just threw the ball to Spillane. I have no idea what he was doing. But defensively, the Patriots, and look, they didn't really get after the quarterback. They only had one sack. I might have had Anthony Jennings had the sack, but really, they gave it to Anthony Jennings. But it was like 4 guys were in there on the sack. It was really kind of Milton Williams. I think it should have been half Milton Williams and half Anthony Jennings. But, what are you going to do? But defensively, I was really happy with their performance. Marcus Jones had another fantastic game again. Christian Gonzalez, a lockdown corner. Sorry, you're not testing him. He's fantastic. He's, top 3 corner in the league, and he ate 3. Okay? So, he's pretty awesome. So I was happy about that. So, Gonzo really good. Marcus Jones, I think Gonzo's an all-pro. I think Marcus Jones should be a Pro Bowl corner, just the way he's playing. Just a slot corner specifically, you could make a case that he's top 5 slot corner in the league. He's been awesome this year. So he's been awesome. But I love that. And where is he right here? Baseball over here says Borgos is a dog. He's been great. And I keep coming back to it, and I've mentioned it 100 times, and I'm going to keep mentioning it on here. That week 2 game in Miami, okay? That week 2 game in Miami, I think set the tone for exactly what Mike Vrabel's trying to build here. Borgos missed a field goal in the first game, missed 2 extra points in that Miami game. The Patriots are up 3 late in that game, and they send Borgos out there for a 52-yard field goal. And I'm just thinking, like, my God, man, like, what are we going to do? This is like, why are we attempting this field goal right now? This kid's been up and down, and he goes out there and hits it. And the Patriots, end up 6, end up winning the game. And then after the game, Vrabel gives a game ball to him and says, "We appreciate you sticking with us. We knew you had it in you. We believed in you, all this other stuff." Like, that's the type of stuff for me that is great. And that's exactly what he's trying to build here. And I just keep going back to that every time I see it. Borgos hasn't missed a kick since. And I think that makes a huge, 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 huge difference. And right now, he looks to be a very good, reliable kicker. And, what more can you ask for? Also, B from Ohio makes case Marcus Jones lay in the wood, smack Fannin, and not only did he smack Fannin, he also knocked Quinshon Judkins out of the game. Judkins left with a shoulder injury after a hard Marcus Jones hit. So, Marcus is a small guy, man, but he packs a punch. He packs a punch when he brings it. Matt's not here today. Matt is under the weather, and so I'm flying solo today. So, I think that's it. I don't really have much else for you guys, to be honest with you. I was worried about this game. I was very worried about the Patriots in this game because I thought that there was a real chance that the Patriots could play this team and their defense could just wreck what the Patriots were trying to do. I was very worried about that. And the first half, I was like, yep, That's exactly what's happened so far. And that really worried me. But, this is when you look at it and you say, all right, like this is exactly what I wanted to see from the Patriots. They struggled in the first half. They made some real big errors and mistakes, but they were able to climb out of that. And that to me was huge. And so, I was really happy to see that. I was really happy to see that. And so, again, does that mean that the Patriots are going to, win the Super Bowl and what TD thinks they're going to have 13 wins? They certainly could have 13 wins, right? But when you talk about we're checking the boxes off, right? You beat the Bills, check, right? You beat the Saints after the Bills game because you feel like this is a huge game and a huge moment for them because don't overlook your next opponent. Check, right? You go down and smack the Titans in a game that, you felt like, was going to be a win. I wasn't worried about last weekend. I was worried about this weekend because you're going up against an elite defense. And how do you perform against that elite defense? Yeah, their offense stinks. It doesn't matter. You're going up against elite defense. How do you perform against elite defense? And you did. Check, right? We're checking off those boxes. And so now you get an incredibly hot and cold Atlanta Falcons team. A Falcons team that beats the Bills on Sunday Night Football, or Monday Night Football, beats the Bills on Monday Night Football, and then comes out and lays two stinkers in a row. Of course, this one with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, but nevertheless, goes out and lays two stinkers in a row, and you just feel like, man, this team stinks. But they also beat the Bills, right? So, like, they have the capability of playing well if you let them. So, I mean, they got smashed by the Dolphins. So, like, they're not that good, right? But, again, they're a team that has shown the ability to beat some teams and has shown the ability to play well, especially in big games, I feel like. They're 3-4 now, so it's not like they're really good. But, you're talking about they beat the Bills, they beat the Commanders with Daniels, and they beat the Vikings. Those are the 3 wins. That's all pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, it's not those are all pretty good teams that they beat, and they lost to the Bucs by 3 points on opening night. So, but they also lost 30-0 to the Panthers and 34-10 to the Dolphins. So, like, you don't know what you're going to be getting from them. And so it's just one of those things for me where I look at it and say, the Falcons stink. They're not very good. However, you still need to go in and play well and do what you're doing. And so, and I think that's what you're going to get from the Patriots. I just feel like that's the way this team is built. I feel like that's the way this team is wired. Vrabel has them kind of playing at that level at this point right now. That they're not taking teams for advantage. They're not taking teams for granted, I'm sorry, when they take advantage of these bad teams, right? Then you run into Tampa, that's going to be tough. By the way, I will tell you that the Patriots, we're going to see some games get flexed here, right? I'm surprised that Buccaneers game hasn't gotten moved to 4:15 or 4:25. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm not sure. They host the Bills on December 14th. That's a 1 o'clock game. There's no way that's going to stay a 1 o'clock game. I would imagine that's going to be a 4:25. I can't imagine that not being a 4:25. They play at the Ravens the next weekend. I would assume that's going to be a 4:25 as well. It's scheduled for 1 o'clock right now. So, like, the Patriots are becoming a team where people want to see them. They want to see what they're doing. Drake May right now is an MVP candidate, an actual MVP candidate, right? So, this is one of those, one of those spots where I feel like the Patriots can go on a little bit of a run here and get some of that notoriety, some of that national attention, and be some of these, national games of the weekend, whatnot. I'm actually surprised that CBS didn't flex the Patriots schedule to 4:25 this upcoming weekend. And then Brady's first time calling a Drake May game would be against Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. I thought that would have been kind of cool, but doesn't look like it's going to happen. I don't think they can flex it just a week out. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think they can flex it just a week out. But maybe if you're only going 1 to 4:25, maybe they can. I don't know. Maybe it's just maybe they have to give you Maybe if they give you 2 weeks, like if they're changing it from like a Sunday afternoon to a Sunday night, I'm not sure, but I think it's 14 days for anything. So, anyways, that's neither here nor there, I suppose. So, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Also, B from Ohio. Just last note here: they can hang with anyone as long as they don't make dumb mistakes. I agree with that 100%. And yes, what's his name? Not Chip. I was going to say Chip Kelly. Brian Kelly was fired from LSU. We just went there and watched LSU. Assumption grad, a fellow Assumption grad, Brian Kelly. The best job in the world. If you can get it, the best job in the world is a fired football coach. Nothing better than that, man. $54 million is his buyout's going to be over $50 million. He's going to be getting paid $50 million to do nothing. I mean, what's better than that? So don't feel too bad for Brian Kelly. He's doing just fine with his $50 million. So anyways, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Matt will be back with us on Thursday night, and we'll be back talking about Patriots versus Falcons. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other, and go Pats.